Perfect.
Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I'm Bobby, also known as Blazing Bob, and today we're joined by Mel, aka Melarina. How you doing?
Hi, good.
Good. And also on the show, after he feels we butchered his survey last week, we have Ubiquitous. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
What's going on, brother? And then, after a long hiatus, it's been years, folks, we have Melderon back on the show. Welcome back, sir.
Was that just for me, or is that a new? You use it all the time?
I use it when I'm happy.
Yep. Okay. That's a good one. I like that. You know what? It had to be important, Bob, to get me out of retirement to come and talk. So I think this is one of the most important things we could talk about in the Classic WoW timeline. Well, one of the topics we're going to talk about today. So,
yep, it's gonna be the main topic. I'll go ahead and get into it. I'd like to start the podcast out by thanking our tank patrons in Croxford, Turtle Whale, and Braxton. We stream the show live on Twitch, twitch.tv/BlazinBob, BLAZZINBOB. If you need to find any of our links anywhere, go to warcraftreloaded.com. And if you need a Rested XP guide, warcraftreloaded.com/RestedXP. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 816-866-1066. If you can't call in, you can go to speakpipe.com/warcraftreloaded. What else? Oh, guys, we have a couple openings in our Warcraft Rumble Guild. If anybody wants to get in, it's WCR Space Podcast. That's the name of the guild. Open invites, jump in. We had a couple inactives, so we're pretty active in that guild. We help each other out, and we do pretty good. So if you want to join that, please join us. We're going to start out with the comment of the week. Then we have a couple voicemails. Then we'll do just a little bit of what we've been doing this week in Classic and catch up with Melderon a little bit. Then there's a little bit of news. We either will zoom through it or we'll do it at the end just in case, because Melderon has limited time. And then the big part of the show will be the survey and Classic Plus discussion continued from last week with Ubiquitous here to kind of push us through that. So, Mel, would you like to read the comment of the week? And I did paste it down below at the very end if you want an easier read.
Mm-hmm. All right. From Brett Prickett, 4146. He said, regarding faction balance on PvE servers, it's because of layers. When I started Classic in 2019, I picked the largest PvE server at the time, which was Pagel. I was in my upper 40s in Fellwood and came to the realization I saw dozens of Alliance and never a single Horde. I did a/who and saw there were plenty of Horde in the zone, but couldn't see one. I eventually started asking in guild and realized that the total number of players doesn't matter for seeing people in the open world. Ratios matter. You can have thousands of Horde online, but if they are outnumbered 10-1 and there are a dozen layers, then the world feels like it's not made for you and your faction. Everywhere you go, you just see the opposite faction. Knowing people of faction are playing, but I can't see them outside of org sucks ass. Everyone blamed PvP for faction imbalance, but at the same time it happened on PvP servers. It was happening at almost the same rate on PvE servers, so obviously that can't be the primary cause. Slight imbalances cause people to start to see fewer other played in the same faction. Again, they exist but spread across layers, which cause them to move to another server. More people start noticing the reduced number of friendly players in the open world and start moving as well, and this process just accelerates. To sum it up, players player numbers don't matter if you don't see anyone you can interact or group with in the open world. Layers evenly spreading out smaller faction killed the world for that faction.
Yeah, you can even go farther and point out that the general chat in zones is also layer specific. So if you're asking if anybody in the area needs to do a quest and you're the only alliance there and hordes the majority of players on that layer in that zone, then you're not going to get any responses, right? But I've asked for this for a long time. I've been asking for it. It was one of my ideas about how to fix server imbalance years ago. Like, it was just like, just keep layers that have half and half on them. And then if the horde outnumbers, the alliance on a server 70 to 30, then there's a couple layers that just have horde, and that would have helped, but I do see his point of, it doesn't matter if your server is 50-50 if you're unlucky with layers. But what do you guys think?
I don't know. It's like my sod server was always 50-50 allegedly, but it definitely didn't feel like that. And then even when you rocked up to Ashenvale, there'd be like 7 alliance raids to the 2 horde raids, but they were adamant that the server was 50-50. And then obviously everyone just figured out, like, I think on our server at peak there was like 6 layers. You just knew alliance would win layers 1 to 4, so all the horde would be trying to get invites to layer 5 and 6, so that we'd have an empty layer of alliance, so that we could actually win an event on that layer. It's I'm a fan of them trying to balance a layer, but then I could just imagine people getting butthurt, going, "Oh, I can't join that layer, like because it's balanced. It won't let me on that layer to play with my friends or whatever." Even though it's like 2% of the game that you'd be trying to do that. But yeah, I'd be down for them to just go fuck it, balance it.
Which makes me wonder, because early on in SOD, we did have the thing where people were complaining about trying to layer over for 20, 30 minutes and it wouldn't work. And I wonder if that was them trying to test something out and just, one of those stealth changes that they've done many times throughout SOD and just not told us that the change happened. And I wonder if they were trying to do something like that.
I think that's the thing. You kind of have to pick your poison, right? Like, you have to pick what's most important to you. Would you rather be able to see people on your layer or be able to layer to play with your friends when you log on, right? And I don't think you can have both. And I think we saw that when they were trying to stop people abusing layers, like Bobby was saying. And I think you couldn't layer. You'd get in a group. I mean, I'd get in a group with Bobby to level, and it'd be 20 minutes before I could actually see him. And that, to me, feels worse than not seeing a couple of people of my same faction. Now, I could be in the minority there. Other people could want to see, other people around. But I don't know. I feel like we can ask for the world, but realistically, there's going to be concessions you have to make with each change that you want.
What do you think, Melderon?
Yeah. So is this in reference to SOD? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand. Is this in reference to Classic in general?
Well, it's in reference. He talked about Classic 2019 going to Peggle and how layers messed him up.
Well, as a Skyrim person who had 99.9% horde on the server, I think the way to fix this is actually at the start, right? I don't know if this sounds stupid, but I think you have to enforce faction balances at the server level.
Now they did that. They've done that in SOD. It's still balanced now.
SOD has
okay.
that, yeah.
For PvP servers, PvP only.
So it's just PvP only. So is this issue in SOD? Have you noticed this issue as well?
I mean,
or because if the factions are already balanced, then by theory each layer should be balanced too, right?
They're balanced.
No, well, that's the thing. We were gaming it, like we were
I see
it to stack a layer full of one faction more than the other for particular advantages, and that's where you just go, we're a bad community. We cannot help but do
Yeah.
exactly what we
Well-
allegedly complain about.
And
So-
on top of that, so Agrandis told us they don't just do it on characters created and stuff like that. They do it in in-game playtime over 24 hours.
Smart.
But it's still, people play at different times. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy because like during the day, it seems like on Crusader Strike during the day, Alliance rules, and then during the night, Horde rules. I don't know for my specific time zone, right? But you know, like they can't keep that in order. It'd be nice if the layers could keep it in order, but yeah, people just jump to different layers.
There could be a smart way of dealing with it, like you said, Bob. But I don't know. I mean, how do you stop people from layer scumming, right, or whatever you want to call it? So I don't know what the advantages are inside, but I'm assuming it's just, you know, there's PvP events and stuff like that. Is that why you exploit the layering, or was there other reasons?
there was some PvP events, and then even like, you know, there's a daily hub. People will just go, nah, put me on the Alliance layer because I can't be fucked dealing with these Horde assholes.
I see.
And vice versa. So
yeah, so the way that I hope it's okay with you, Bob, but I'm gonna reference Turtle Well a lot during today, if that's all right.
No problem at all.
So the way Turtle Well kind of dealt with this, of course, they don't have layers; it's not that big, but they do have like a war mode option, and you're incentivized if you flag yourself for PvP, you get like a 5% XP bonus. But the way they did it was kind of interesting. So you have to do this at level 1. So you decide at level 1 if you want to have PvP enabled the entire time you're playing. From 1 to 60, you can't turn it off. Now, I'm not saying that's the right way to do it, but there could be something like that where you, and this is going to get a lot of people pissed off, but I think I've found that while playing Turtle, this is the way to do it, because I didn't turn that option on, but there's enough people who did that there's a healthy PvP scene on that server. And I, get tripped into doing PvP all the time because I see someone that looks juicy and I kill him, right? I'm playing Rogue on Turtle WoW, so you have that opportunity as Rogue a lot more than other classes. But I don't know. It's a good way of doing it. I don't know if we're thinking this too, like, are PvP and PvE servers antiquated? Is that too old of a way of thinking? I don't know.
Okay.
I know that the concept of war mode is gaining popularity with classic players.
Yeah.
To go, fuck it, just make it a toggleable thing. And like you said, Turtle Wow's that next tier of, you're really locking it in for the long term. I mean, I'm not a very stubborn player. I'm like, fuck it, try war mode in classic, and then if it's shit, just take it away again. Like I'm happy for him to swing for the fucking car park. Why not just try something different? See, because a lot of I'm a bit skeptical of, I'll put myself in this boat. The player base, we seem to really think we know what we want, and then we'll be like, no, that's shit, and then you give it to us, and people will go, oh, actually, it's kind of better than I anticipated with my immediate reaction from a Reddit post. Like, so I think it's where they need to probably go towards, but I know that, like you said, that'll be super unpopular with classic players to say we should get war mode.
Yeah, I really don't want to tell people to go play a private server, but I think tasting it and understanding it could be interesting for people who are on the fence with this, because when I first logged into TWL, I was like, what the fuck is this, man? This is stupid. And then I started playing and I'm like, man, I'm not getting fucked with when I don't want to get effed with, but I get to screw with people when I want to. And there's people that actively turn this thing on because they want that 5% XP bonus. Yeah. And there's enough people that do it that you get PvP skirmishes, right? So it's interesting. I don't know.
See, so
yeah.
So for me, I do not like war mode. I do not like PvE servers. I found out real quickly in Wrath when I was on Benediction, and it was basically Scarum, just on the opposite side.
Yeah.
It was all Alliance, and I used to love the fear of going out into the open world, and then I already had way less of it being able to fly, right? But then I had zero fear, and it was just like it was not fun for me. I am intrigued by the you have to turn it on at level 1 and there's no turning it back off or on after that. Like that could be a happy medium, but I don't know, man. When somebody shows up on my kill on sight list, it's gonna piss me off if they're, if they didn't pick that at the start and they're like
and now they're
flag
deflagged.
only. Yeah. And like that's I like the danger. Sometimes I get beat the crap out of, sometimes I don't, but that's the fun of it. That's the fear of going out into the open world, I guess, for me.
I think the theory behind it, though, Bob, is that now your server will just be busier and more popular because someone that would just never have been involved on a PvP server at all will now play on your server and be a PvE Andy on your server. So I guess that's the perk, right?
Yeah, I think what we're forgetting too is that a lot of people have bad taste in their mouth with PvP because of what Blizzard did with Honor in 2019, right? That was why. That was a major reason why we got Scarums and Benedictions, right? People were deathballing through servers and farming honor on people constantly, and that's why a lot of people left. So, I think that, I don't know, maybe Sod, you guys can tell me from Sod what happens there, but I feel like if you release Battlegrounds with honor, it's going to be much less of a problem, but I don't know. They did that with Season Mastery, right?
And they did it with Sod, too. They released BGs with honor.
Yeah.
There is still so many friggin' Reddit PTSD codgers out there going like, "Nah, Phase 2, 2019, never forget that shit." And it's like, yeah, dude, they dropped the ball.
I was going to make a shirt that said Phase 2, never forget. Wear it at BlizzCon. But I mean, like a lot of people, Mel and I literally daily would go to do our jump runs at DMEs. It would take us 45 minutes to, die a couple times at the first pack of Horde. Then they pass us on to the next one because they've already killed us 4 times. And the 5th, you get very little. And then 6, you get nothing. So then they'd pass us on to the next group of 5 that was just around the corner. They'd kill us a few times. Then they'd pass us on to the next group of 5, yada, yada, yada. That's how it went, right? But we were tenacious and we just went through it. I mean, we did it for a month, like doing that every day. And most people just aren't as tenacious as us, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know if we're moving on or if we're going to stay on this, but I don't know. Like, like the war mode thing might be an option. I think maybe the PvP, maybe PvP and PvE is an antiquated system. Maybe it's not the right answer. I don't know.
I don't even think people really know if they want PvP or PvE, to be honest. Like, I think the people that want PvP want it when they want it, and then are very annoyed when they're ruining their fun to do something else, right?
Yeah, there's very few people that are actually like me that are like that can accept the bad times because I know how much it makes the game better for me in the other times. Like, someone's beat me and they control the area, I'm either going to find buddies or I'm going to be like, all right, well, I'll come back and do that later. Like, that's basically, and I think that's a cool thing. It's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to get this done. Too many allies here. Not sure if we're going to be able to do it. Well, maybe they'll be cool. And then the interactions where you decide not to fight are cool as hell too. But you're still like you're just watching them out of the back of your eye while you're doing your quest, Like, those things are cool for me, man.
Makes you a better player too, I think. Being on a PvP server.
All right, well, we don't want to stay on that for too long, but there's a lot of the war mode thing is getting traction, and I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry so hard if it happens. All right,
we shall see.
Yeah, no, we'll see. Let's do the first voicemail.
Hey, Bob and Mel, this is Gypso calling, and actually I've been piggybacking off of previous week's voicemails, and the one I'm listening to, and I wanted to make a comment about, was talking about doing adjustments to rested XP. And my opinion, this is this kind of crackpot, overdosed copium idea would be to have a bard profession. It would likely be best that it would be a secondary profession. And as you level it up, you can do additional buffs that are generally going to be related to rested XP. As you level up, the more significant, maybe in flat amount, percentage, the rested XP will get. So if you go into a main city, you'll get a lot from like a high level player, or you'll just get a little from like a low level player from yourself if you're learning how to do being a bard. I think, and then late game, bards could end up just being something that you use kind of close to more like enchanting sigils, where they kind of give buffs on the raid right before. And I think then it would be something that you need instruments that you interact with all the different professions to get these. So I think it would be kind of an interesting way to increase rested XP while still making a little bit more sense. Like, why did they increase rested XP, and having it be kind of a game mechanic? So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Have a great day. Bye.
So this was in response to a voicemail that came in from somebody else last week, just talking about how they'd like basically the first 24 hours to be like a lot of rested XP type of deal. So it, you could still take advantage of it, if you were playing every day. It's interesting because there was an entertainer profession in Star Wars Galaxies, but the way that worked is, so say you had 100 health, you had more health than that, but say you had 100 health, as you would fight, and it was the same for energy and what was the other? It was stamina, and then I don't think it was mana. There was like 3 different things, right? But as you would play and get hit and take damage, yada yada, you would start to get this like dark part of your bar. So all of a sudden, after you've been quested for a while, instead of having 100 hit points as your max would be like 70, and you'd have this 30 like grayed out bar, and you'd have to go actually watch an entertainer in like a tavern for a bit, and then it would fill it back up. So that kind of be like the same type of deal for this, but that's kind of a neat idea. I mean,
yeah. So this episode might turn in. Did you guys ever see the South Park episode where they're doing something and they said Simpsons did it? Did you ever hear that? You remember that episode? Ever seen it? I'm a huge South Park fan.
Oh yeah.
So Turtle Wow has done this. Turtle Wow has done this. Yeah. Turtle Wow has done this too. So this has already been implemented in Turtle Wow. There's a secondary profession called survival. And what you do is you use the current profession system. They didn't add any more like herbs or minerals or nodes or anything like that. But one of the main things is you build tents. And you build these tents and you sit under them, and your rested XP bar actually goes up. So
wait, you're saying that you build a camp out in the middle of nowhere?
Yes.
Hey there, Ruby. Look at that.
It's a very cool mechanic, and you can share them with people who don't have survival. So someone can come under your tent and get the rested XP.
Yeah, Sod's got a sleeping bag as a huge just easy cop out of that system. But I mean,
oh really?
The end result to the means of the end result is still the same. It's a sleeping bag that you can summon on a 3-hour cooldown, and it just pretends to be an inn. You can log out in there, and you'll
just get warp to you.
Oh, hold on. Yeah. But this gives you XP actively as you're standing underneath of it.
Yeah. So like
this does the same thing.
Yeah,
this does too. You get the little Z by your portrait.
Yeah, but obviously, like, you're not going to stand in this sleeping bag for 8 hours and have your game logged in.
Yeah,
so the Total WoW one does much quicker, doesn't it?
It does it very quickly. So you're sitting there and your rest XP bar just goes up. You see it move up, right? Yeah. So it's not like you can log out in it. This is completely. I mean, it's obviously similar.
It'd be a little.
And I'm assuming they copied it.
Being able to watch my rested XP go up.
I mean, it's not like it. you got to spend like 5 minutes under this thing,
I mean,
right?
yeah, but being able to watch it go up sounds awesome to me. They
Yeah,
put in these things, these items. You could only get very few. They were called student fodder, and they gave you what 4 bars, no matter what level, just 4 bars,
20%.
and it
They'd
was
heal
freaking
you and
cool.
give you, yeah. Like that's what like the setup camp system in Turtle WoW is kind of like, if you're talking Classic Plus, that's the ideal situation. But I guess I'm just I've become pessimistic about it now, where I'm going, nah, they'll just give us the fucking sleeping bag from Sod. But then I'm still there going, that's better than nothing. Fucking, I'll take anything. So,
By the way, I looked into it. I said last episode there was other games that did this. It was Red Dead Redemption was one, but I thought there was an MMO. It was Star Wars Galaxies. You could actually set up, if you had scouting, high enough level, you could set up a camp that would have all of the different things you would need to craft things, and like you could log out there, like, and it would stay for a bit, like, but that was a different type of game. Like, also real estate mattered in Star Wars Galaxies because you'd actually place your stuff and it'd be there. It'd be like having a house right outside of Stormwind, that was your house, and you could lock it, you could keep people out of it, like that. That WoW can't really support that type of deal, but like camps, I bet they could.
I mean, if a bunch of developers in a private server can do it, so can Blizzard, right?
Yeah,
It's will they, right? Yeah.
yeah, that's I guess it's like, for example, pandas just get rested twice as quick as other races in WoW, for example. That's just an easy cop out. Like, what if they just blanket made it? Everyone gets rested XP twice as quick. There's a heap of people that would say no to that, but then they'd be happy for one of these much more complicated systems to essentially do the same task, but they're willing to accept it if Blizzard put that work in. Whereas, I'm still just in that pessimistic,
I mean,
whatever, just give us something, even if it's a lazy option.
It's the same thing for me, that I love Warlock summoning services that are built in game. I know some of them are bots, but guys, at least in SOD, the majority of them aren't, because I test them constantly. Unless they're AI bots, which could be a thing. But
yeah.
But like, I love that, but I hate the idea of everybody being able to summon to the summoning stone. Like, I like the idea of these people setting up a shop, making a business out of it in game, and then at wrong hours, you just can't get a summon. It's like, well, it's 3 a.m. and I guess I'm walking, So I don't know. It's just a little bit of friction, right?
Yeah, the reason I like this system that Turtle WoW did is that you don't have to reimagine leveling. You don't have to reimagine how long it takes to level. You can just implement a system that incentivizes someone to take a secondary profession to speed up their leveling if they want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Player choice. I think it's important.
All right, well, let's get on to the next one. I want to get on to the other stuff.
Bob, Mel, Melderon, hello, and welcome back to World of Warcraft content creation, the little you do. Missed you and your brother Death Camp very much. Appreciate
Oh, I know this
stream.
is.
Anyway, man, how long has it been for you? I think the last time I saw you on there was when Sunwell was out. I honestly think. Anyway.
I think it was because you quit pretty early in Wrath.
I have an odd question.
Yeah.
Being the fact that War Within and so many people, including myself, are saying WoW feels back, it feels different. And I don't think it's just the fact that it's new expansion, because I've gone through those before. Legion felt new, all these felt new. But what surprised me the most about War, I'm just completely surprised to see of how many classic players are enjoying this. Like, for goodness sake, yesterday I watched Josh from Countdown to Classic talk about retail or War, and that just weirds me out in a good way. So I get there are players that will never play retail. They see it as modern, and modern's bad. Okay, fine, fair enough. But my question to you, as someone that does like the original game, when you see all these people that do enjoy Classic, but even they look at War and go, maybe, like, this is good, guys. I'm excited to try all this new stuff. And they like the original game. better, does that make you wonder what's Blizzard doing different here? What is the thing that's making all these classic players wanting to try it? Does that make you go, maybe I should take a look, or is it, it's a fad, it'll just go away? And let me clarify, I'm asking everybody, not just Spellrun. Sorry, let me clarify that. But I don't know, it's a weird feeling. This war feels so different. It's like, for the first time in 20 years, since original vanilla, I don't feel the need to rush to level cap. I want to explore each zone. That feeling that you say you get lost in Barrens, I do that in Hollowfall. I do that in, I'm not good with names, but the first zone. I get lost in those. It's like, I did a side quest, and I care. I've never met these characters, and I care. Like, I don't want to tell you about the story because, like, I want you to experience it. People are literally going, no, I don't want to spoil. Like, that's just not something you would see in a retail expansion. So my question to you guys is, do you look at them and go, what's Blizzard doing different, or what's your opinion on that? Anyway, that's pretty much all I want to ask. Welcome back, Melderon. I hope to see more of your content. Hope you guys have a great show. This is Mega Casual. Signing out.
I have my theory, but I'll let you guys go first.
Well, I'll just answer Mega Man. Like, the reason, there's a couple reasons why I wouldn't play, and the most important one is just time. So it's not like I just hate on the game automatically, but I'm glad you're having a good time, and it sounds like the story is good. But that for me is the smallest aspect of a game and why I get into it. And my major issues with retail are not the story or not the zones. It's the gameplay, class homogenization issues I have. Everyone has a heal. Everyone has a, I just don't. I'm a very old school RPG guy. Rogues shouldn't be able to heal themselves. Warriors shouldn't be able to heal themselves. It's just that's how I come into these things. So unless that stuff's fixed, that's what's going to have to take me to come back to a game like that. And then, PvP implications of everyone having a heal and stuff like that is tough for me. So, but, again, I'm glad you're having a good time. I just, sounds like a lot for me to jump into something like that.
Yeah. And then tanks basically heal themselves. You know, it's a lot of stuff like that. But what about you, Oobs? Because I think, Ubi, you've been playing a bunch of retail. The rest of us, I don't think I've even tried it.
Yeah, I'm leveling my second character up to 80 now. I think I was having this chat with Josh last week, and it's like, all the YouTubers just keep telling you, oh, it feels like it's back. And I'm like, well, what the fuck does it feel like it's back mean? I don't want to just be an echo of that sentiment. But so yeah, in my playing, it does seem like there's still a few of those things. Like my rogue does have, what's this fucking ability called? Crimson Vial. It'll heal me for a quarter of my health over 4 seconds. But I don't know, I haven't really found it that useful because shit will just blow me up if I stand in things. And there is I think the return to the talent tree, I know we we're talking about it before we went live. It feels really, really good to use this talent tree again. And there are like like Bob said, there's some shit talents here, but I mean, if that's the play style that you prefer, then it's a good talent. But like not necessarily in its output, but if you like pressing that button, then you go and do it. And I feel like there is a shitload of, like, you'll go look up the guide, and I didn't follow the guide, even though it said to go pick this, pick that for your leveling. I went, nah, fuck it. I like pressing this button more than that button, so I picked that, and I'm leveling just fine. So it doesn't really matter. And there's high impact points in the talent tree. The hero spec on top, where you pick like one of two styles, is kind of cool. But I've found so far with the classes, like I play Shadow Priest and I play Rogue in Classic, so that's why I've tried to give it a whirl in retail. You kind of just got to be an appreciator of your class's fantasy and playstyle. So, like, everyone says that everyone can do everything. I haven't found that to really be that accurate. Like, for example, on my Shadow Priest, I mentioned yesterday on Countdown, the Shadow Priest operates in that I have to dot everything up, and I have abilities that help me dot things up better. And then my AoE is actually doing single target to one of the targets, and then it splits a third of that damage to everything that I've dotted up. So then that's a completely different style to a warrior just pressing Blade Storm and spinning around and fucking things up. So like, are we both AoEing? Technically, are we doing it in completely different ways? Absolutely. So it's not, you're not really doing the same, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's good.
And I don't know if, I mean, they said that the dungeons and shit had been like ramped up massively compared to Dragonflight. So like heroics are harder than what they used to be. I have no idea. I didn't play Dragonflight. And I mean, it is kind of true. Like I've died fucking heaps, and like I'm trying to not stand in things, but you still end up dying, especially if you got bad gear. So I don't know. It does seem it's back to difficult. It's not like you're CCing trash pools and stuff, and there is a lot of AoEing packs down, but then there's still some classes excel on the trash, and then you get to a boss, and other classes become really powerful. And I think that's kind of pretty Warcraft like. But then, yeah, just those. I mean, someone else. Everyone's mentioning it. The zones are cool. Obviously, the music's always good in retail these days. But I think a big part of it for me is that it no longer feels like you're on some meteor soaring through space, fighting some fucked up demon dog alien things. You're just in Azeroth in pretty cool looking but normal zones. Like they're just grassy fields and canyons and shit. And you're killing mobs like kobolds, which is very Azeroth. So like that for me is a big plus to retail at the minute. It doesn't feel like some weird alien game anymore. And the only, some people will hate that Volpera or whatever the fuck they're called is in the game. I reckon I've seen about 2 of them. Like,
Yeah.
if you guys think that they look like shit, guess what? They're not popular, because they do, or at least that's a lot of people's perception. So I don't know. It's just it's been a lot of fun. The talents feel great to spec into, and then press those abilities that have been buffed or granted entirely from the tree. It's kind of when people talk about how you could fix vanilla talent trees, and they say, "Oh, you want your choices to matter, and you want to be able to say or identify as a particular style of that class because of what you picked." Well, I can't urge anyone enough. Just put up the War Within talent calculator and just read through it slowly. I mean, it's not like you're actually playing, but go give it a read, and you'll go, you know what? I reckon ticking some of these fucking boxes would feel pretty good. Like
Yeah.
on my priest, you literally have to talent into getting dispel magic, cleanse disease and stuff. And like on my shadow priest, I don't have dispel magic. And then there's some times where you're out there going, fuck, I wish I could dispel this shit. And then you'd go to town or whatever to change it if you felt that way. And both are
Dude,
completely
fuck
fine to play that
that.
way. So
Shadow priests already don't dispel. Now you're gonna make them talent into it to dispel and raid. I will freaking murder somebody.
yeah, but that's in the class, like that's in your priest tree. So you do have 2. Like I've got an assassination tree and a rogue tree. For example, I have to talent to get Cloak of Shadows and Blind and Shadow Step. You don't have to, but I mean they're all right at the front, so you may as well just grab them.
Well, okay, so and you'd said all the talents were I don't want to stay on this for too long because like I really just this isn't a retail show, but we were talking about it in pre-show. You said all the talents were meaningful, and I almost think that's a bad thing. Like I like the fact that you have to pick some shit talents to get down to some good shit. Just like I like the fact that there's bad gear in vanilla as opposed to good gear, and I like.
Well, do you mean bad as in the talent is useless and no one ever picks it, and therefore it is just a dead row in a tree, or bad as I have to pick it just to get to the next row?
I'm saying bad as in like, okay, what other people say is bad is like 10% more damage or 2% more of this, and then 5 of them is 10%, more of this.
There are those in the tree. Like there's plenty of those that are just tick this box. It's a little passive that means your auto attacks do 10% more damage when I have Envenom up or something. And compared to the other ones, you're like, that's pretty fucking bland. But even then, you're like, now every time you press Envenom, you're poking him for 10% more. So then it makes you enjoy pressing Envenom a little bit more, even though it's super minor compared to, a talent 2 more rows down that's giving you an AoE rupture. Like there's Crimson Tempest in retail for rogues, for example. You know, you tick that box, that's a lot more impactful than 10% more auto attack damage. But there's some in there.
Okay, so the last thing I have is, this is one of my big qualms with retail, is how are you getting by the super cartoony graphics and weird way that people run on top of the weird glow that has whenever you hover over anything or whenever you attack something? The weird glow really throws me off when I watch, like,
I mentioned this on Countdown yesterday. There is a lot of things, the UI and how everything looks is so much more customizable than what anyone would ever imagine if all you've played is classic. Like that glow, you can just turn that off. That's a tick box. You can make nothing have that gold trim on it. Even
okay.
like you know quest items on the floor and stuff, they have like some Super Saiyan glow to them. You just untick the box and that shit's hidden in the grass. Good luck finding it again. And it's very classic-esque. So like I have it in between where, yeah, like when I select mobs, there's no glow, there's nothing surrounding them. There's just their little red name above their unit. So there's a lot of ways that you can de-cartoon it.
Okay.
And I mean I played a lot of Shadowlands, kind of, but like I don't know. I don't know the technical terms that like literally an artist would describe it as, but like things have been dulled down in the right way. Like not everything looks like it's got a nice.
They've put like a grady
thing
on it, like a grady, like what they did with 300, but like they did grady, and then they also did like everything was kind of like gold, like tinted, but they did a grady like overhaul of the whole thing.
I think that like the colors are just not as vibrant and shiny as they used to be in the right way. Like now when you're in a cave, it's not like all the stones have been licked over with a clear lacquer. They just look like it looks like a cave that's in fucking Ungoro again.
Okay.
And I think that's a big boot. Like for me, when you play it, you go like, yeah, it actually looks like Warcraft again instead of this weird fucking shiny anime MMO.
All right.
So.
Well, we're not going to stay on this any longer, but yeah, I'm glad War Within is looking good, because Blizzard being successful helps me get closer to classic WoW. I will say the one question, the one thing that he said he was surprised about was the fact that so many classic creators are in, and my theory on that is that, classic creators are a little
nothing to do,
starved for content right now, and they are classic creators are going in and saying, "Oh, this looks good," and then other people are doing it. Now, the weird outlier, and I don't think he's like this at all, is Josh Corbett. So Josh Corbett enjoying it is a little weird, but at the same time, he does enjoy Final Fantasy too. So
I
think a good way to just like end it end the discussion on it, so to speak, is like if you were ever even gonna try it, the fact that you probably have 10 classic guildies playing it now means that it's probably the best time to try it, because you got people to play with.
It's a good
point.
For
me, that was always a massive like, oh, Shadowlands looked cool at a glance. You log on, I didn't know a single human being playing Shadowlands. But now I have like 40 guildies. We have so many people playing retail that we're probably gonna, because we clear Kata in one night, we're probably gonna just put our second night on retail when the raid comes out and see if we like it. Just because we're all on here anyway. So that's probably if you know a heap of people playing it and no one from Classic has played any of the last three, then you kind of just go, well, fuck, they must be doing something right if all these people are giving it a whirl. So,
well, good. I mean, good for retail. Retail being healthy is good for Classic, and
and vice versa. Yeah, for sure.
We don't have to beat each other,
Yeah, I think the community's past that point of fucking waving their pitchforks at each other like it even matters. Like retailers are retailers and Classic.
Yeah, they're completely different games.
Yeah, I had to learn the lesson about talking shit on retail early on, and the best thing that someone said to me is that, well, there were just so many things that I said out of ignorance, and then people would write in, correct me, and let me know the actual rules, and I was like, you know what? I need to shut up. I need to shut up about retail. I don't know about it, so I'm not. I
Yeah.
shouldn't talk about it.
The
It's always
classic
dangerous to talk about
community.
something you don't know about.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
know, it's very dangerous.
Yep. I just
The
talked out of pure
community
hate.
did have in the very beginning of 2019, Classic did have this weird fixation thinking that retailers gave a fuck about any of us, and they're like, no, you guys are in your weird little sandbox, go have fun, like we don't care about your existence.
See, I knew a lot of retail creators because I was an Overwatch creator, and we hung out a lot at the different BlizzCons, with them. And boy, they made fun of me in it was BlizzCon 2018? Yeah, 2019. 2018. No, 2019. It was the last BlizzCon before COVID. But yeah, they were making so much fun of me for playing vanilla. And their main thing was like, I've already been there, done that. And it was just like, and half of them, I looked at them and I was like, yeah, but you were 9. You were 9 when you've been there, done that. Like, but yeah. So, thanks for the follow. Retail is trash. Nice name. Somebody made a new account. Oh, but yeah. So let's move on. We're gonna do what we've been doing recently. I'm just gonna do a quick one of us. So last week you heard we were gonna go into Molten Core Heat 3. We went in and holy shit, dude, was that easy? If everybody has their fire resist, it's easier than Heat 2, man. Like it was absolutely absurdly easy. We one-shot everything except for the molten meatball. The molten meatball, somebody ninja pulled and we didn't unboon, and we were in the middle of describing the strategy we were gonna use, which was literally just I go to the right, I go to the left, I go to the right, I go to the left. And that was what the whole group did. Easy peasy. You ignored all the mechanics and just blew the boss up. But yeah, we destroyed it. So it's funny that Heat 3 is actually easier than Heat 2, just on the fact that everybody freaking like resists everything. So I mean,
that's
the
what I've heard
healers
from
like just
everybody.
sit there and twiddle their thumbs and kind of like talk the whole time. It was hilarious. But yeah, so we destroyed that. We got another set of bindings. So now our raid has two sets of bindings. We can't make the Thunder Furies until BWL comes out. And then we also have 2 crafted hand to rags, one in Table Slam's hands as feral, and then one in one of our chamois, our like top damage 2-handed chamois parser, thoughtful. So we're doing good. Like we're having a good time, and that's really all I got to say about that. What have you been up to, Ubi? Retail, huh?
Yeah, I've been playing retail for the last 2 weeks. I didn't pay for early access like a sucker because, like the voice note said, when it hasn't felt like a rush at all. You don't really care to get to the max level ASAP unless you're like, a mythic fucking pumper.
That was fucked. Blizzard made that decision, by the way. I heard about it on Asmongold.
Yeah,
That was really screwed up.
It is, and then they even went and made leveling harder, like the day that everyone else got access. They were like, "Oh, you guys are too powerful in your Dragonflight bis," and it's like, "Motherfucker, I'm here in boosted gear. Don't make this shit harder." But even then, it was still easy. But on the principle, what they did was very wrong. And other than that, I am raiding on Catter at the moment. But Jesus, retail's just got me hook, line, and sinker at the minute. But the next phase of SOD is also looking pretty good. I really like the flex rating that they're bringing in.
All right, Melderod, what have you been up to? You should tell everybody,
I've been grant writing. That's what I've been doing right now. And the little time that I do have to play, I've been logging into TWoW and just doing a little bit of leveling. Very, very minimal. I'm only level like 38 on a rogue. Having a great time. Love the new zones. I feel like I'm just promoting I'm not promoting it, and I'm sorry, Blizz, if you're listening to this, but I'm just trying to explain in a framework, and TWoW is the easiest framework I can explain. But yeah, they added new dungeons.
We talk about them all the
zones.
time. Yeah, I'm sorry. if they get mad at me for that, I'm pretty sure they won't. We talked to a lot of the WoW devs.
Yeah.
Like, you know, maybe they won't give me interviews, but
I think people can objectively agree that like what they've done over there with the skeleton crew they have compared to Blizzard is pretty amazing. And I hope Blizzard takes lessons from their success. But that's all I'm doing.
I just hope, like, you know, don't have an ego. If fucking Turtle Whale's got some hectic seasons, just yoink. Because what's Turtle Whale going to do? What leg do they have to stand on? They're literally fucking stealing your game. So
I literally said that in one of my videos. I was like, Blizzard, it's your IP. Just fucking steal it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
You can almost just copy and paste their systems into your game, and they can't get upset.
Yeah. So.
Yep. All right. Cool. And Mel, did you have anything to add?
No.
No. All right.
I don't think so.
I think we could just bust through the news. Time for the news. All right, so first up in the news, there's a whole bunch of stuff on Wowhead. I'm going to put the link in there for you. There's a whole bunch of changes. There's a whole bunch of everything, but I'm just going to pick out what I want to talk about. And if anybody else wants to pick out what they want to talk about and any change, they can. But I just want to say, so they changed the rogue just a flesh wound to now decrease damage by 20% when the rune's active. Decrease damage you do. It used to be when you would activate Blade Dance, that's when your 20% damage reduction comes in, and then it would also decrease the damage that you do and apply the threat modifier. Now, the damage that you do as the tank is reduced with the root on period, and you get the threat buff. I'm still pissed that they didn't just make the 20% damage just straight on the rune period, because like the 20% damage like decrease on the tank, that still requires Blade Dance, and the other tanks that they added this in for do not require you to use 2 globals before you are a tank. So it pisses me off that rogues have to do this, but rogues are still pretty much the best tank in SOD. So if you're not doing that, you guys are scared. You should really try it.
Damn, that is weird, bro. It's weird to hear you say that.
I know, right?
It's crazy how good they are. It's crazy how good they are. Now, they're horrible, but so are warriors. They're horrible at multi-target. But as far as like tanking like a straight up boss, like they're good. But yeah, shamans and I don't know how paladins are, but shamans and warlocks are like the AoE tanks in SOD right now, at least here in phase 4.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't know.
It's weird.
Do you guys want to? And then occult poison, which is basically deadly poison. Once you upgrade it, now instead of, you can put 5 stacks on that. Now instead of 2% non-physical damage debuff, it's 3%. So instead of giving your casters 10% more damage buff, you're giving them 15% more damage buff. And so I like the fact that they're making rogues have to come. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about the other stuff. If anybody else wants to jump in, they can. If not, you guys can see the link in the description.
What does it feel? How does it feel having a rogue tank? Like class fantasy wise, not like mechanically.
Oh, it feels cool.
Yeah,
I think
they did it the right way because it's so avoidance based and all that shit, and like you get temporary buffs for consecutive dodges and little shit like that. You know, it does feel pretty cool. Like if there was ever a world where rogues are going to tank and they're doing SOD, they do it the right way instead of like, you know, oh, now your rogue wears a shield and has a buttload of armor. Like that would have been wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, a buckler, maybe, along with a like dagger or something in that same buckler offhand. Like anybody that doesn't know what a buckler is, it's like basically like a basketball sized shield that would be on your wrist or forearm. And it's to glance blows off, not to block blows. And yeah, like something like that. But I always thought rogues should have been able to tank. I didn't know about bosses, but I always thought rogues should have been able to be an off tank of some sort. And I tanked Ani back in 2005 as a rogue, all of phase 3. You know, so like that was one of the coolest things I ever did in our original classic. And I just always thought a rogue could do it, you know, but yeah. And then Warlock, are pretty beefy too. Shamans,
you're gonna get some
tanking.
rogue fucking boomer out there going, well, actually, they could tank in vanilla. Yeah, brother, we know. Fucking
They
avoidance
could.
cap, yada,
And
yada,
they could
yada.
really
But
tank in TBEC. They could get some crazy avoidance. So,
but I think what's cool about those situations is that they're niche, right? I think those are niche situations for those classes to do those roles, and I think that's really cool. The fact that like Warlocks had to tank twin imps, right? Stuff like that.
Yep.
But making them full-time tanks, that's a little much for me. But we can talk about that in the next.
And I mean, making Shamis and Paladin tanks, I could see that. I could be on board with that. Making Shaman and Paladin tanks in SOD, I feel like was a must.
Well, you have to if you're going to have Paladins exclusive to the Alliance, right? Otherwise, it's going to be kind of. But I actually don't think Shamans, like in the Shaman community, is going to hate me for saying this. I think it's much easier in the mind to imagine a Paladin tanking than a Shaman tanking, class fantasy wise. Just saying from pure class fantasy perspectives.
Well, that's because you think of a Shaman as your battle mage.
Well, yeah, but they also don't wear plate, you know?
Yeah.
I won't be shocked if you hypothetically in a Classic Plus you see Rogue and Warlock tanks get put in the bin, but they keep Pally and Shaman. So like they've given us a fuckload in SOD, and then they'll trim it down because those two they can argue will make a bit of sense. And like you said, you can't give Alliance Pally tanks without giving Horde Shaman tanks unless you give us both access to Pallies on Horde and vice versa. So.
We can get into that.
Yeah, that's like what would you rather, take that apart or just let Shamans tank? I think most people would go, nah, we're happy to keep them separate. But
yeah, I don't want those beta cuck Paladins on the Horde.
All right. Well, let's do the next piece of news real quick here.
One thing, hold on. You didn't let me talk.
One
thing, they said something about Vampiric Embrace now correctly heals her 10% of the pre-shadow damage. Was this inflated before?
I got no idea.
I don't know if it was inflated or that's.
I mean, there's no way that it would heal more now. I mean, it heals so much right now, right?
Yeah, if I was going to guess, it was overpowered before, and this is a correction. That's a nerf.
That's
just my guess.
Well, that's good because okay. Okay, so Druids can transform into Firecat without Soul, the Hand of Rag, equipped. As long as they have it. So this is coming in phase 5 in case people want to upgrade their weapon and don't want to use Hand of Rag. Table's still not quite positive that the new staff is actually better. But so Metal Rod doesn't know this. If a druid gets Hand of Rag, if you check that number 2 on the news and click that link, their cat form turns into a cat that's on fire.
Right.
So they're going to be able to use this now as an item, as long as they have it, the Hand of Rag in their bank, or in their bag. They'll be able to buy this item that they could use to make them look like that. What's funny is Table in PvP actually transforms first, then puts Hand of Rag on so it doesn't show him as a fire kitty, so he's not a target for everybody to go after. So it's pretty funny that like some of the best, PvP players are trying to hide the fact that they have it rather than announce it to the world. It kind of goes back to Mel talking about
I was gonna say, like when I was in Classic and had Benediction, it's just this trail of like stars that's like, hey, come kill me. Come over here. It's not fun.
No.
But it's an option for you guys.
Some people, I think, some people, fucking Reddit, of course, and there were people out there saying like, oh, it takes away from like, that you earned it or you had it, whatever. And then the other side where I just think that Druids should have access to like the retail, like make your forms look how you want, like customer characterization instead of all of them looking exactly the same. So I'm definitely probably in the not popular camp for what they should have access to anyway. But
yeah, but oh well, it's something that they're putting in. You guys let us know if you like it or don't. The last thing of the news is they have discovered a new item called the supercharged Gob Mogrifier, and it's Shaman only. And it transforms you into a Blackwing technician. And for anybody that doesn't know what a Blackwing technician is after you kill the first boss in BWL, that's when you race in and you chase the Blackwing technicians down because you want their Elementium ore. And they run off and despawn. Yeah. So you run in there, try to kill them before they get away from you, and that's the whole deal with them. Why is this in here? If it was just going to be like a fun little item, why would it be exclusive to Shaman? And if it's exclusive to Shaman, I'm so confused. Like, I don't know what this would be used for.
I don't think it'll just be a little toy thing. It'll be something to do with a quest line or some shit.
Yeah, probably. Maybe unlock a new rune or something, maybe.
Maybe, but they said, I don't think there's supposed to be any more runes.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Yeah, I was completely out of my ass.
I think I only read briefly about it this morning, and like the speculation was like, oh, maybe shamans are going to get their own legendary or some shit.
Oh, maybe it's a quest for that, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's move into...
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right. So last week we had a epic long podcast. We did a 6-hour and 15-minute podcast.
What? Yep. I listened to the whole thing while I was at work.
And 4 hours of it was on this survey, but Ubiquitous wasn't exactly happy with how I cross-examined every question. It was like, yeah, this, but this, and this.
Nah, so, I wasn't happy with. It wasn't even you. It was like some YouTubers. They're like, you pose them a question, and they go, "Oh, but bots would just abuse this." And you go, "How did you come to that conclusion?" Like, there's no mention of bots or how it's even implemented in the game, but people are developing the idea on their own negatively instead of it's just fucking yes or no, mate. Like, I think it was the profession leveling one that spun me up the most, where all it was should professions give any form of XP? It didn't say how much, didn't say how thoroughly, and people were like, "Nah, you'll just boost characters with profession kits." What the fuck? How'd you come to that conclusion?
Well,
and even if it was possible,
for me, but I
would
told
just fix
you
anything like that.
For me, I did my whole solo video on where I took all the questions, and I answered, yeah, I want to get XP for professions. That's kind of cool. And then I had tons of people message me about like, yo, in Guild Wars, that you could do that, and people sell kits to just level up. And I was like, So then I changed, I altered my answer to be like, well, if it was 15% each level, that could be cool. You know, it's a little boost, right? So it was just like,
Yeah,
I
well,
learned
that's
more
where
taking the quiz, you know.
I learned more about how my fellow human interprets really simple questions and overcomplicates the shit out of them, and I would be able to make better questions next time. Like in my mind, when I wrote that, I'm like, if you leveled from 1 to 300 while leveling 1 to 60, maybe it gave you the equivalent of like 3 or 4 levels max, like to get a full profession. Or say you picked up a profession at level 59 and a half, it would give you the half a level to get to 60 if you went one to, like, that's how minor I was talking, and people are there going, nah, you'll just go 1 to 60 leveling skinning 1 to 300, and it's like, yeah, fucking right. Like, do you know how much XP you'd skin one mob and get what 50k XP? Yeah, right, they're gonna fucking put that in the game. But that's where I was just like, Jesus, it highlighted to me how easily people can assume the worst if they're against a particular concept.
No,
Like,
I'm not, I'm not gonna assume the worst, but I will say that it's the equivalent of, like, to me, this is gonna sound really crazy, but it's equivalent to me of saying, if like my son or daughter, if I had a son or daughter, and they said, "Dad, I want to be a Instagram model," right? Like, I'd be like, get out there and do some fucking real work. Go level in quest. You're not gonna get paid, being on TikTok. No, I'm just joking. But no, it's a good idea. I just think that professions are incentivized heavily already, and I wonder why you would add any more incentivization to that.
it's like I'm like, I don't really give a shit. It was just
No, it's
I
just a
just put it
question.
in
It's a good
there to
question.
see what people were interested in or open to. It's like,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't even do professions anyway. Still, I'd literally just pick them at 60, and because we'd figure out what's best.
Well, and for
Yeah.
How I
me,
play the game.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
for me, I would be a little less annoyed with Mel if, there were chunks of levels that you could get for professions, because sometimes when we log in on alts and they're alts, she's like, well, I want to work on my profession first before we go. I'm like, okay. I mean, you can do this any other time. I'll just sit here and fish right next to you while we're waiting. It's like,
If you're not on a
Good
fresh
for-
server, the professions can make you really rich. If you're not
True.
on a fresh
Yeah.
server.
True.
Yeah.
I'm really bad at making myself rich off of professions, though. I don't do that well. I just level them.
It's easy on SOD though, because like you sell Peace Bloom for more than you sell a Plague Bloom, like, and you just make sure that you herb while you level your ult and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I made over 200 gold in TWL. I'm not even level 40 yet, just by selling elemental earths, stuff like that.
I'm a hoarder, and I always think I'm going to need it later, and I don't want to get rid of it because I'm always broke. But it's like this cycle, like I'm always broke because I don't sell anything. So then when I do need it, I'm glad I have it, but I probably could have had 500 extra gold if I had just sold everything and been able to buy it,
Yeah.
I'm a bad, like, I'm never poor in WoW because like I do farm and shit, but like I'm the literally the opposite of good advice. I'm a serial liquidator. Like, I hate holding on to herbs, even though like I know it's better to hold on to them. I don't care. I don't want to hold on to them. I just want to have my raw gold that actually loses value with inflation on the server. I don't care. I know it's the wrong choice. I just like having gold in my bag and not fucking 400 herbs in my bank alts bank.
I liquidate so many things. I pick and choose on what I hold, but I just will. I will not save any enchanting mats, period. They will go straight to my bank alt and they will go up immediately. And then I will, when I get something new, I will buy the mats. I will not like save them. Oh, I might need this later type of deal. I just don't, that's just not my way. I'll forget that I have them in my freaking bank, and then it was worthless anyhow. So
yeah, that's usually what happens to me is I save them the next phase, or I save them and then I sell them the next phase when they're like pennies on a dollar.
Okay, so where do you want to start? I mean, you can kind of lead this, Ubiquitous.
I was going to say, you. What are you curious to know? And I'll see if I've already got it on my sheet. And then if I don't,
you just
try and figure it out.
Why don't you just hit your sheet? And we'll talk about it. I mean, or any of the questions that really jumped out to you. One thing I would do differently if you were to do this again is that first section, you have 3 questions, right? Which class you main? Which version of WoW do you enjoy the most? Are you currently subbed to WoW? I would have, right after, are you currently subbed to WoW? And right before, which version of WoW do you enjoy the most? I would have picked, what versions of WoW do you play right now? Choose all that apply. I would have loved to seen the amount of people that are playing multiple versions of WoW, because there is quite a few of them. So I would have loved to see that.
I should have put it in. Like, I definitely agree. But where, like, more people were playing more versions 6 months ago, now that all of them are well baked in their end game, like Sod's level 60, Catter's waiting for Firelands, and until War Within came out, I had like very little crossover in people that I even knew. Like, I barely knew anyone that was raiding on Catter and raiding at Sod. Everyone's decided which version they prefer by now, and they're playing it. And then retail is now like, maybe a heap of people would tick 2 or 3 options. I mean, like, I'm saying I'm the minority where I'm playing like 4 versions of the game at the same time, kind of. But yeah, I should have had that filter question to be able to see, like, how much of Catter is even playing Sod, even if it is very, very small or minor. So, well, I was saying on the pod and countdown that, you don't have to be a fucking genius to have a guess at where people would be biased or greedy. Like, for example, I called it out, if you're an out and out warrior main and you're answering the question about should racials be, really powerful and meta defining, most warriors play orc or human. And most of those guys probably go, fuck yeah, I love that I'm better with swords and axes than everyone else, and you're an idiot for picking Tauren, suck my nuts. And yes, when you go and do like the next tier of crossover, so like I've just prompted ChatGPT for most of this data. If people selected warrior as their main, how do they answer this question? And warrior mains were about 1.5 times more likely to say, yeah, high impact racials are better than everyone else of every other class. So it was about 25% of warriors are like, yeah, bro, I love high impact racials.
Yeah, and this is an inherent issue that people don't talk about when we talk about let's use RuneScape's method of doing player polling, right? Is that there are inherently going to be questions that, in as far as I didn't know this, RuneScape doesn't really have classes.
Yeah, that's why it works there.
So
you're all
exactly,
the same
right?
hero. Yeah. And,
so if they do a polling system, it's got to be stuff like, do you want new dungeons? Do you want new zones? They got to stay away from a lot of the meta defining questions and then leave that up to the devs.
Should we buff like Archer? And you go, all the Archer guys are going to go, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Like more than anyone else. Like this is how the bias would affect it. So they have to do really generic polls. And then, yeah, like you said, because you're all the classes, everyone is everything at the same time. That's where polling can work for OSRS. It can't work for WoW because, like, should rogues be allowed to tank? Anyone that hates rogues is just going to vote no on that because they don't play it and they don't like rogues. So it's just, it won't work for
And
WoW.
all the warrior mains are going to say no, right? All the druid mains and, so.
I did like another one. I knew that this was going to be the result, but I surveyed like the PvP crowd control and the duration of them and stuff. Like, for example, rogues can sap someone for 50 seconds and then spam a heap of emotes and kill their friend in front of them. I had the options of like, how it is fine. Long CCs, Abyss. Then there was the alternative of like shorter ones, but don't punish overlapping. So if you're fighting a 2v2 and I cheap shot you and my pally buddy times his Hodge, you're going to be stunned for 9 seconds. You'd just call that like good overlapping play, whatever. And then the third option was like just everything has diminishing returns of each other so that you pretty much can't get CC'd for longer than about 10 seconds is where you'd be at in retail. Like if you got chain CC'd by 2 people, they can keep you locked down for about that long. Oh, sorry, it's about 15 seconds, I think. And obviously, rogues and mages were
Well,
significantly more biased to long CC being the
Yeah.
best. And, wow, who would have seen that coming?
see,
So,
retail's different though. Like I liked the option where there's diminishing returns. I don't know if 10 seconds is what I would have gone with, but I like diminishing returns on stuns. But retail, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just going by Wrath rules, but different sets of things share different DRs. And I hate that. That makes PvP so hard for people to get into. I want it to be like anytime you CC somebody, you're going to basically be cutting whatever that CC is in half, period.
yeah, I think that's just because of retail, and it's obviously it went very deep down the rabbit hole of arena. So like I can't quite remember. Like it's been a long time since I went pretty hard on an arena season. But like there was even groups of spells, like let's say Fears, for example, or like Psychic Scream from a priest. I can't remember what it interacted with, but I'm not sure if it was implemented in that manner to nerf particular comps. So like a Warlock and a Shadow Priest just couldn't chain fear someone for 40 seconds even in retail anymore because they'd overlap, or Howl of Terror, whatever it was. But that's because of arena. Arena has fueled so
Yeah.
much.
But I
of the
want
changes to
everything
retail, so.
to overlap. Like, so say I open up with cheap shot and it stuns them for 5 seconds, but then a Warlock fears right after that. Even if the fear is a 30-second fear, I want it to be a 15-second fear at that point. And eventually, dude goes immune and is immune for a long enough time to where you can't reset that. Like that's what I want. I want it to be more simple in CC. Like
I'll be
diminishing
unpopular
returns.
we'll be unpopular because we're a pair of rogues, but I'm in the same boat saying, I kind of it's a really lazy take, but it's like just not getting to play for 25 seconds and dying the whole time in there can get a bit tiresome in PvP.
Yeah, I
Obviously,
mean, rogue.
someone will just say get good. Like I know how to PvP in vanilla. A lot of it isn't about getting good because of how it works. Like
Rogue sap is absurd in vanilla, and
Yeah.
Hunter freeze trap is absurd in vanilla, and
polymorph, like,
polymorph
so
is absurd.
ridiculous.
At least polymorph
I don't
heals
know.
you. At least
Yeah.
polymorph
Yeah,
heals
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes polymorph kind of okay in my book. Like if fear was healing you too, like that might be a different thing, Like so.
Yeah. And there'll be someone saying, "Oh, polymorph's not OP because you can just get dispelled." But this is why, like, I'm just of the take for PvP. I don't even really care. Just make the rest of the game as good as you can, and let's just hope that PvP falls into somewhat of a decent place. Because what are we going to balance around jewels? 2v2 arena, 3v3 arena, battlegrounds, world PvP.
I
PvP
say
in WoW will
battlegrounds.
always be a fucking shambles. So just fix the rest of the game and then, tweak some obscurities that are just ridiculous in PvP.
I think
So-
Arena was a bad call in the beginning. I thought it was the coolest thing ever when it was coming in. But in retrospect, it was horrible. Like we should have been going towards rated BGs, and I still haven't played a rated BG. I never played long enough in original Kata, and I didn't play long enough in Kata Classic to play a rated BG. But it sounds better to me, and I could be completely wrong, but there are tons of classes that are viable in a BG that are not in a 3v3 or a 2v2. And so I don't know.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to go back real quick to what you were talking about skill-based stuff. So that's how Star Wars Galaxies and Ultima Online was. Yep, drink. I just mentioned them again. That's two drinks, guys. It's a drinking game people have created for any time I mentioned those two games. But those were where you could have a certain amount, like Ultima Online was 7 skills that you could get up to 100. You had 700 points you have allotted throughout all the skills. So if you wanted to, you could have like 25 in hiding, if you had another skill you were willing to go down to 75 on. And it was the same type of deal for Star Wars Galaxies, just done a little bit differently. But yeah, I didn't even think about the fact that's why the voting system might not work for World of Warcraft. I just wanted to point out that I didn't even think about that. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, that's unfortunate truth. Like I can't.
people
I
have
actually
pointed
had
out,
people. People were trying to tell me that I was just using it as an excuse because I don't agree, or that like they were trying to tell me there was not an objectively correct answer, and like I'm not saying there was. I'm just saying that there will always be a statistical leaning of bias and greed when you're surveying particular people
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
particular specifics in the game. So, and like, yeah, I'm telling you, I could almost go for these questions and ask you like, all right, who do you think benefits the most from this, and how did they vote? You'd be able to guess most of them. It's just that the tool is good that you can pull out the exact numbers.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
curious. Like,
And this is why I think stuff like this shouldn't be touched. Like I think that there's, I think about this as an equation. So I use the acronym, MMORPG, right? So each of those letters is a term in an equation, and the RP is actually one because it's combined. And of course, no one's saying that this shouldn't be online or a game. So let's remove the O and the G. So now you just have two M's and an RP, right? And I think the goal of Classic WoW or Classic Plus for Blizzard should be maximizing those terms in the equation to produce a very good experience. But the thing is the more you add to classes, in my opinion, will always limit the RP term, because most changes, I think you can categorize that most class changes are some type of homogenization. There are very few examples of class changes that doesn't fall under that category. And then the first M, massive, and the second M, multiplayer. The massive part is the easiest thing. I think that's the low hanging fruit, right? I think most people would agree that making the world larger is going to increase the output of that equation the most. And I think that the multiplayer, it has to be balanced though, because you don't want to make the world too big to the point where you don't see anyone, right? And I think this is what you guys had with incursions. And I keep hearing about this with the incursion system in SOD, right? You made the world technically bigger, but you removed the multiplayer aspect. So
Right.
It's a balancing act, and I think that honestly, I really think class changes are the hardest thing to do, and I think they're the ones that have to be the least amount of things done. I think massive is where you hit it. The first M in that equation is the most impactful thing you can do for Classic Plus, is to give us more shit to do.
You know what incursions were like? Incursions were like a week-long music festival out in the middle of nowhere where everybody went and it was popping there, but everything else was dead everywhere else.
Yeah.
I think where they ended up eventually, like if you go do them now, they're kind of cool for their purpose because you can only do a lap of them once a day. And because there's not 400 people in there, like if you've organized to go there with 3 players, like a little party or whatever, it does feel like a dungeon now. Like to do that lap and fight all those mobs and shit. And like you pull too many, it gets like minorly sketchy. But like now it's good. And in maybe they've learnt from it where, they kind of accidentally just added a different kind of dungeon to the game. If you go there when it's quiet enough and it doesn't have 40 people in there just kind of massacring everything. So, but in their initial fucking implementation, Jesus Christ, what a mess. Like, literally just running laps of looting things off the floor to level.
Yeah,
All right,
I don't know what that was all about.
If you don't have, I thought you had specific things you wanted to point out, but maybe you did it on Countdown to Classics. So maybe we should change this up a bit. Let's pick out questions because Melderon is one of the last standing retail true Andes. We had a ton of them. Yeah. Sorry.
Please don't ever call me that again.
I was reading Mega Man's stuff in chat, and it just came out. My bad. But
I've got some good ones here that might rustle Melderon's jimmies up a little bit.
that's
So,
what I'm saying. Let's pull out the
I've
questions that a true classic Andy is gonna be like, fuck no.
So I polled, should we have shamans on both factions or pallies on both factions?
Absolutely fucking not.
But then I looked into the data and I thought, you know what? Everyone's going to say, mind you, the results came back as probably 60% in favor, but that's including the I don't want shamans, but I want Alliance to have shaman equivalent. So in SOD, everyone has Wind Fury from ferals. Yeah. So they're like, I'm down for that, but I don't want shamans.
Thank God they didn't just give it to paladins, though. I mean, I will say that.
But I was like, you know what? Maybe the shamans and the pallies will feel different about this because they're the ones that are like, no, I want to stay on my side and I want them to stay on theirs. No, the shamans and the pallies are more invested or more happy to have both factions have both. So that was one that spun me the wrong way. I thought for sure they'd be like, no, I'm a shaman, fuck Alliance. No, shamans and pallies want to play on both teams. So.
That's very surprising. But I want to say one thing, and I'm not trying to poo-poo on this survey because it's a lot of work. But your first question is the one that throws me off the most. Actually, 88% almost of are subscribed players, right? And I just want to say,
I see where you're going. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I see where you're going.
So I am not subscribed to any Blizzard product currently because everything they've made is complete and utter trash. Sorry, Blizz, but it is. And so again, I'm coming from the classic Andy's perspective. You guys can shit on me all you want. That's fine. But there's nothing that they produce currently that I will play because I only want to play classic WoW. That's it.
Yeah, because Era's in a dog shit place until they release a fresh server. So a lot of that crowd are actively disengaged at the moment.
Dude, literally an elemental earth, I think, is like 50 gold. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. But it's kind of close to that. Probably 5 gold per.
Yeah. So I just want to say, I'm trying to be the voice for the people who don't play right now, and that's why I'm going to probably poo-poo on some of the things. Or not,
no, that's the whole point. Yeah. I've had plenty of people telling me I literally hate everything that was popular. But that's luckily that's why I can say, most of the survey was done by SOD players and classic vanilla fans. But even then, like you said, the ones that are vanilla fans or classic fans that are still playing are obviously more progressive, to put a label on it, more progressive minded than the ones like yourself who they're not even checking the Reddit no more. So that's why they didn't fill out the survey.
Bro, I am checked out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So that crowd, and that's where it's a fair criticism. And I had that from some people, and I said, but I did everything I could. I can't drive to their house and find them on the internet and be like, hey, you damn you bunch of fellas that have disappeared. Come check my shit.
That wasn't a hit on your survey at all.
No. I understand what you're
methodology, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people.
I can already tell that you're someone that can actually look at this with a bit of fucking logic behind it, whereas other people have just screeched at it. And it's I can't change what it is, and I didn't manipulate it to be what it is, but at least you can go that's just a categorical truth about it.
Yes.
There's not enough input from people that hate every version of WoW that is currently playable.
So
that's the truth.
I almost wonder if the people not if a big chunk of the people not currently subscribed are the people that I got to listen or that I got to sign up, because there's a ton of people that message me constantly that listen to the show and don't play. They haven't subbed in forever, and they just listen to the show to keep up to date with what's going on. Kind of like what I did with the instance for 2 expansions after I quit, so
it's I have had a lot of messages from people on Reddit, so to speak, and they were messaging me saying when you just look at the data from the people that voted that Classic Era is their favorite version of the game, I guarantee you the results will flip. and that certainly isn't the case, like even remotely close. So
Mhm,
like,
mhm.
but they're still involved enough in the game that they took the survey and they found it on Reddit and they listen to podcasts. So yeah, they're not completely checked out players.
Yeah.
And like you said, the guy that's checked out is the dude that's like, no, 1.12 is fucking the game I want.
Yeah.
And even SOD is too far from that. So there's some little, like, pretty much everything goes. But then, like, if I were to only select the you're unsubbed and you picked classic era as your favorite version. So
Mhm.
now that would be a way to like subdivide down to specifically probably that crowd. Now
Yeah.
you've taken 3,400 results down to
Yeah.
maybe like it'll be down in the hundreds, which I mean is still enough
It's
to
still a
probably get
big. It's
pattern.
going to bring your power down for sure. But that's that's
Yeah.
the nature of doing these types of things,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, and like listen, like this is a lot of work, and it's very useful. It's very very useful. But my only thing, if I was reviewing this, would be like I just which you can't do. You can't actually go out and find the people that are not playing
Yeah.
or not on the Reddit or have checked out. But again, you're talking to a guy that if Blizzard just did fresh 1.12 with no changes, I would resub. Right? That's all I need. That's all I need.
Yeah, I'm pretty.
So yeah.
I'll be flabbergasted if there's not a vanilla fresh at some point soon,
Well,
Yeah.
here,
Mhm.
especially with that rumor of hardcore fresh, which makes literally the least sense. Like you should do fucking TBC fresh before you do hardcore fresh.
well,
Like
hold on.
hardcore stays fresh based off the premise of the server
Yeah.
design.
Yes.
Hold
yes,
on,
yes.
hold on, though. Please don't do TBC Fresh again. TBC, I realized.
You
I'm
like
just
it?
using
really
that.
didn't
I'm
like
just
that.
using that as an
But-
example. Like you should
I
do
know,
that. Before
I'm
you do
giving my
hardcore
Yeah.
fresh.
personal opinion, but I want to we have a half an hour max left.
Yeah.
Let's have some fun and let's pose some of these questions to Melderon and see his thoughts. Like, so what I'm looking at right now, because we're not talking about 1.12 fresh. Like we know a
Yeah,
ton
yeah.
of people come back to play that.
It's Classic
Talking about
Plus.
Classic Plus. Would you like to see more playable races? High elves, blood elves,
Right.
worgen, goblin, Draenei, etc.
Okay. So I'll answer this by I guess comparing it to Turtle Well. Okay. So I think that because they did everything right. They did that. So they added new races, but they added lore friendly races, right? They didn't add Draenei because then they have to explain the Exodar and all this other fucking bullshit, right?
You
They
are
added goblins.
answering it the same as I did. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So they added goblins and high elves. Perfect, right? They added their own starting zones. They added their own racials, everything, right? And but it's also simplistic. One of the most beautiful things they did was if you ever play Undead, if you're Horde, you have to go to the Barrens. You have to because Silver Pine doesn't have enough quests. So what did they do? They added a whole new zone in the part of the map of Tears Fall Glades you can't access. They added a whole new zone there. So now you have all these quests that you don't have to go to the Barrens now if you don't want to. They did the same thing. They opened up Gilneas. So now the Horde has another questing area on the Eastern Kingdoms, in addition to Rothi Highlands in that level range, right?
Yeah.
In the Badlands. Like, so yes, I'm totally okay with Classic Plus. It's just you can't go, like I said, it's all about the first M. It's about the massive multiplayer online, right? So if you make the world more massive, give us more leveling zones, give us more outdoor lead areas while leveling, give us more dungeons, give us low level raids. Some of the stuff they've done inside, so they can take that information and they can take their experience and put that in the game. But I'm sorry, keep classes as close as possible to what they were in 1.112. Fine, give Paladins Crusader Strike. Fine, give Shaman a little bit more tanking capability. Maybe buff Hunters 5% damage. Who knows? Like very, very small things. And this is what Turtle Well has done. They have it outlined on their website. They have all the class changes they've done and why they did them.
Yeah.
It's already been done. Is my point. You know what I mean? But Blizzard could do it better. They could do it with more polish because they have more resources. So
Should the barbershop be added?
I don't give a fuck about barbershop.
I know, that's what I said too.
That's like
I
with
said
some
just
of
no
them.
blue hair. That's all I said. And then I got a whole
The-
bunch of flack for that. They're like, but they have pink hair, and I'm like, yeah, I just don't like the blue hair characters. That's all.
That's
Yeah.
with like the questions like the additional races. That was an example of like I had people reading it and like that was just me dribbling. Like the examples that I gave, I didn't put any thought into that. But I'm also pessimistic where I'm like, we're going to get retail hand-me-downs. They're not going to go put ogres into Classic Plus. They'll give
Right.
us fucking goblins because it's there. Just port it
Yeah.
over. Happy as Larry. But
Well,
like
that's all why. That's why Turtle Wild did it too.
Yeah.
They took Blood Elf models and they took Goblin models from Cataclysm. Right. That was
Yeah.
the smartest
So,
thing
like,
to do. Yeah.
people were reading it going like high elf, yeah, mad goblin, oh okay, Draenei, no, and then they'd vote no, as
Hell
if
no,
I was
Draenei.
I was.
Draenei's a
But
hard
they,
no.
they voted no to the question because they liked every single race, and then they were like, oh, I'm the developer and I'm putting Draenei in, so now I don't want any of them. They're
Well,
just examples, boys. Like,
Yeah, you have
I
you have
would
a
rather have
bad
none.
survey taker.
I would rather have
Yeah, like
none
this-
than have Draenei.
yeah,
I know,
but people,
you're feeding into his point. Like you
Yeah.
Exactly. That's my whole
yeah,
point.
people's interpretation ability. I was here banging my head, going like, "Fucking hell!" Like I knew I shouldn't have put that word
Yeah,
in.
but
Like
if
I
answer yes,
intentionally.
then it means Draenei could be in the game.
No.
And that's dog shit.
No, there's
wouldn't
no
do
way
that.
they get like they would if they've got an option of 8 and we're like, yeah, give us 2 new ones. They're not going to pick Draenei as the first pick. They're going to go with popular choices. Like, and that's the thing. There's some people that hate.
Assuming, my friend. You are assuming.
You're
I
just
am trying
you're a
to let
doomer.
them know exactly what sucks and exactly what doesn't suck.
You're just being a doomer. You're like the guy that like, oh, if they put this in the game, next thing you know, they're going to sell mounts in the shop, and they're like, they're not, dude. They're allowed to put this little thing in. Like,
Speaking of mounts, when should you get your first mount? 20, 30, 40?
40.
yeah,
Why?
40 was the
No changes.
overwhelming response. Yeah.
See, and I said it should have never been 40 in the first place. You should have got a 40% mount at 20, a 60% mount at 40, and a 100% mount at 60.
Well, Bob, that's what Turtle Wild did. Actually, they actually added a level 20 mount.
Yeah. You know, I probably shouldn't say this, but I just might be the creator of. No, I'm kidding.
yeah. I don't think you are. You don't have the Eastern European accent, Bob.
No, I'm the silent backer. No, I'm
Yeah, it's
kidding.
true.
I'm really not.
But
I'm really
so
not.
they added a level 20 mount, but it is slow and it actually increases with your level up to level 40. But it's very slow. It's not like fast at all. So they did add that.
But it's faster than running.
It's faster than walking. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or running.
and the point that I made is, dude, you could have a mount in Star Wars Galaxies or Ultima Online at level 1.
Drink.
Drink. but like it's a mount, you know, like
Yeah.
like I think about like
It does make the world smaller,
cowboys running around, and it was just like, why am I walking at level
Because
39? You know, it's just so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah,
Just
that's
think
level
about-
39. Yeah, but
I mean, just think of how exciting it is, though, at level 40 to
Yeah,
get
I'm
your
walking
mount.
here.
Because you've been walking for 39 levels. You know what I mean? Like,
It is exciting. I will give you that. It is very, very exciting.
yeah, play Shaman. You won't have that problem. You
Or
can get
Druid.
a level 20 or a Druid. Yeah,
Yep.
that's true.
Yep.
I did have like on the barber thing. I was really surprised that like pretty much every demographic is actually the most in favor for complete character remake. So like body type, the works. Whenever you go into the barber on like no cooldown, but even like between Era fans and Sod fans, there's a leaning towards no barber more. Like Vanilla voted at a 23% rate, no barber. They don't want anything. Whereas Sod was like 16% no barber. But those are all patterns that like you just know. Even you could guess word for word what the summary from ChatGPT would be of like these demographics are more leaning towards full remakes of characters, and
Yeah.
this demographic is less leaning. But I did find like I made some graphs for class like satisfaction, so to speak, with how it plays and shit. And what is the? It was interesting. Warriors. like Warrior for 1.12, obviously very happy with it, but in SOD they haven't had the same experience, I'd say. So they're like the grumpiest SOD players, class for class, and the most happy classes in SOD at level 60 are like Shaman, Druid, Priest. So like, the fringe boys from fucking vanilla that kind of lick their wounds the whole time. So like, it's just nice to see like, the data is going as you would expect, but like the people that aren't happy with how those classes play on SOD, like Shaman, Druid, and Priest, is less than 10%. Like it's almost 90%. Like it's at least better than what I used to have. Whereas then, as you get to the more meta ones, like Warrior, Rogue, and shit, they're kind of like, yeah, it's all right, but I mean, I was already good before, so I'm not that gassed up from SOD. But yeah, just like everything, it's just a reoccurring pattern. Like guild bank, only 4% of all people said they don't want guild banks, which is kind of like, we're gonna get them hopefully.
Yeah, guild bank's an easy.
That's GMs that like to profit from the guild bank is that 4%.
Yeah, 4%, right? Yeah,
and like,
so
sorry, you go.
No, so the one thing that I don't know if I missed it on your survey, but one thing that Turtle Wild did that I did not like. So the main thing I did not like was they added transmog. And that shit was fucked up, man. When I saw someone in the bank with like this weird fucking like they made themselves look like this spooky boy type of like, just normal clothes, and then I inspected them and they're like Thunder Fury, and I'm like, what the that was bad. I don't know why they did that. Yeah. I don't know if you asked that question or not, but
if any of you, he didn't ask a transmog question, and he should have. I didn't even think about that, but I feel like that's the same as the flying question. Hell no. But
no, hell no.
Every one of you that likes transmog, I just want to give you.
I don't think I even put it in because, like, in the beginning, I didn't have answers that I just knew were going to be 90% yes or no, either way. Because
but I think that one would have surprised you.
Yeah, like transmog is probably everyone has the same like. Oh, I'd let it in if I could toggle it on and off. Seems to just be what I hear from fucking everybody, which is all like.
And that was my idea from the beginning, and that is fine. If I could toggle it off client side, fine. That was my idea back in like episode 20, I think was the first time I brought it up years ago. So like, but no, transmog is dog shit. It is so stupid. It's stupid in Diablo as well. Like it's stupid. I hate it.
Yeah, the most important thing in Classic WoW is jumping in as level 60 with like purple pants, a green shirt, and fucking like, and then you're level 60. That's classic.
You look
man.
stupid.
It's gotta be wonky, yeah. And the only time you don't look stupid is when you've gotten like raid tiers. And now you're like, now that guy's badass because he's got tier gear on. That effect has to remain.
Unless you're a warrior and you're in the clown suit in 1.12.
And tier 2.5. That one
in AQ stage, you look like a freaking clown.
Yeah, the yellow, blue, and red. Yeah.
And
I love the rogue set from AQ. You just look like a fucking bug.
You do look like a bug. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Oh, and Mega Man. If you're saying I'm the minority, I don't care. It's stupid.
He's not the minority among classic people for sure. He's not. I think it's probably 70-30 the other way for classic Andes.
Yeah, freaking hate transmog, but we shouldn't stick on that too long. What's your preferred dungeon forming option there, Malvarad?
So this is something I've changed my mind on.
Shit.
So Turtlewell has the Wrath of the Lich King, not the looking for group, not the instant thing. It has a queue system where you get put to a list, and then you can form groups that way. You know what I'm talking about? Like this is when Wrath came out, before they had the auto dungeon creator thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, Turtlewell has implemented that, and that works really, really well because you put your name on a list. And then you can form a group.
Yeah,
that's the overwhelmingly popular option at the moment. Like,
that's what I would want to.
They just want it out of the chat window. They want to be able to see like, oh, these are everyone trying to do Scolo. I'll pick and form my group, and all right, we've made our group. Let's all fucking run to the dungeon. Or actually, people were very in favor of the summoning stones working at the dungeon. So like, still no teleport, but
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of like, it doesn't really matter because I figure if they make summons that work, there's still the social of you guys in party going, well, which fucking two of us are going to go be that guy?
Yeah,
Who's gonna
true,
use the
true,
Mad
true.
Dog? And then you just chat that way, and then at the same time, it does open it up a little bit. Like if I'm forming the party, I'll obviously just start running there then, and that
Yeah.
way I'm already ready to go. But I can see some people are like, nah, don't. I want
because
everyone to
there's
ride there.
there's always, but the like to your point though, there's always those people that like you form a group for like Razorfin Crawl, and they're in fucking they're on the other continent, like
Yeah.
Yes.
completely far, and you're just like, dude, it's gonna be 30 minutes by the time you get here.
I kick them.
And they don't start running there until everybody's already there.
I basically, you know, if we have a lock, I say we have summons. If they're not headed there, I kick them and add somebody else. I mean,
same.
That's
and
where
when I'm ready to run a dungeon, I'm there. Like, and I set the group up, but I'm also one of the the minority of people are like me, willing to create a group and bring in pugs and lead it. Like most people are just like, I want to go with somebody else. Somebody else do it. Somebody else do it. And I'm just like, well, I want to get it done, so I'm going to make a group, even though I don't like to make a group.
I liked talking about this point a lot when we were first building the survey, because like there would be people out there saying, oh, this negative, this negative, this negative, because that's all they want to look at. They don't like the concept, so they hate the idea, and they'll just point out the negatives. Whereas like I look at the other way, like you're saying, that if I'm leveling my alt and I'm in Silverpine or let's say like early Hillsbrad, now I can actually still help form Wailing Caverns groups, like, and be open to doing that. So like on your alts, this will lead to more runs happening.
Yeah.
Because you can fish from the entire level band around the world, knowing, oh, well, at least 3 of them will be in the Barrens and we can summon the last 2 or whatever. And it gets more people involved. When I'm in Hillsbrad, I just do not look for a dungeon ever because there's nothing that I want to do that's nearby. So it's just, you know, there's a positive spin for it that some people.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I actually think that'd be fine. It wouldn't stop me from playing a game if they put in summoning in the summoning stones for sure.
I know there's some people have their hill to die on, but I find some of these guys were like, it's a super minor thing, and they're like, nope, I'm unsubbed. See ya, don't care about it anymore. And you go, fucking hell, you can quit over this.
I'm not that crazy.
I'm not that crazy. But they wouldn't unsub is the biggest thing.
That's
you know what I mean? Like they're just like, no, I'd never do that. Like, yes, you would.
There's definitely like
you're muted, Bob.
There's some people
I
that
wouldn't unsub for that either. But I would rather it be 3 people required, right, for the summon stone. Just like if a lock was there, like.
Yeah, I agreed. It's this way you're. Yeah, I agree with that, Bob. That's a good. Or
at point. Least 2.
And then
because once a lock drops the summoning stone, it's only 2.
I would not play Classic Plus, period, if Transmog was in. Unless they had a toggle button. If they had a toggle button, I could deal with it. I also wouldn't play Classic Plus if it was the new updated graphics.
Wouldn't play either.
I think it looks horrible. I do not like it at all, but yeah.
It looks like Disney World. It looks like you're in Disney World. It's the stupidest fucking... Yeah.
And I love Disney World. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want it in my WoW. Like, I mean, I'm a devil Donald Duck guy right over here.
I'm enjoying Transmog on Kata, but I wouldn't want it in a classic either, because once you like Transmog,
that's because Kata gear looks like shit.
Yeah, but Transmog progressively gets better the more the game goes along, because there's more things to choose from. In vanilla, if we get Transmog in vanilla, every rogue's just going to wear Bloodfang forever. As soon as they get it, there'll just be 1,000 rogues running around looking exactly the same. Even when you get inside, like, there's not enough good options. Like every warrior might just wear Might because they like it, and like fair enough. But when you've only got 3 tiers to pick from, it gets it'll be too lame. Like I'd almost rather just everyone wear their best gear and you see it as it is.
I would venture to guess that the majority of retail transmog are from Wrath of the Lich King and below, because when transmog came in, the art team really flubbed it on tier gear and everything else. Like it was very homogenized, looked very samey, very just not
super
good.
Rare. It's super rare to see anyone wearing anything from that era anymore. They've just announced that they're remaking the entire tier 2 set as a part of the 20th anniversary event. So there'll be a shitload of them soon. But when you look at that, like I have Blood Fang or whatever, and I can transmog it, it just looks like shit these days. When you look at how HD the new loot is,
Oh, sure.
in this expansion. So the
Yeah.
transmogs for the old stuff is not very popular at all because you do just look odd.
Yeah.
Like some of the new gear does look cool. The effects of it look cool. But,
also, I think that transmog works well in retail because there's just because of the quantity of things that exists that no one knows what anything's from, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At least I don't. I don't know what fucking
That's a good point.
expansion that's from. You know what I mean? Like I have no idea.
Someone's wearing the season 3 PvP set from MOP, and you're one of 3 people that are wearing that specific set. So that's what I mean. Because of the pool of items is so fucking big, everyone's kind of cool and unique. Whereas if you had transmog in classic, you've got 2,000 items that every single player on the server is going to be wearing. So we're all just going to look like an army.
Hold on, I'm pausing this because we are running real close to out of time. But I do want to ask this question to Meldron. At which point do you feel most classes were fleshed out and enjoyable to play? 1.12, TBC, Wrath of the Lich King, Cataclysm, MOP and Beyond, or a mythical mix of multiple, which was Sod is basically the example there. But you don't know Sod, so
no,
you know
I think,
the first 3.
I think I'm going to have to say TBC on this one. I think that TBC had the best class changes in WoW's history when it came to the classic world, right? I'm not talking about, back then. Every class got in, so that somehow they pulled this off. Every class got meaningful additions to their toolkit, but in my opinion, it didn't cause class homogenization. And that's really hard to do because the most beautiful thing about classic WoW is, and this is, I am not saying that we should have TBC talents. I'm just saying that felt the best, but TBC wasn't the best expansion. So you have, in my mind, it was vanilla. So the most beautiful thing about classic is the force multiplier effect. And Asmongold's talked about this so many times. But he's right about this very, very specifically. A warrior working at 100% capacity and a paladin working at 100% capacity, when they come together, it's not 200%. It's not additive. It's multiplicative. It's like way higher than 200, right? It's like 300%. And that is so fucking awesome because every class has inherent weaknesses. So when I say TBC feels the best, I'm not saying that's the best game design wise. So it's a caveat.
That's my whole point. So are you cool with the Classic Plus fixing up some classes instead of no changes?
Yeah, so I think I kind of answered this on my TWoW thing. I like what TWoW did. So some classes weren't touched at all. Like rogues weren't touched. What they did add to rogues, what I thought was, and I don't know if Sod this is, was it this? Rogues have poisons. They have all this side stuff. They have lock picking. They added a disguise thing, so you can go up to an NPC. Certain NPCs in the game, they'll sell you their disguise, so rogues can disguise themselves, look like other characters in the game.
Oh,
right? How fucking cool is that?
Yeah,
right.
Cool.
So it's like stuff like that. And that's the only change that rogues got, really. So, but paladins, they got ways of managing their mana when they're tanking. They got Crusader Strike. They got things like that they needed. Shamans got a beefier talent tree to beef up anticipation and dodge and the armor contributions from their armor. They got Water Shield. They got things like that. So I'm okay with the TWoW level of class changes, if that's an easy answer, but people won't know what those are, so you'd have to check them out. But I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where like so many people, in my opinion at least, have been really crap at being able to pull a particular set of things or an idea from TBC or Wrath and exclude it from their bias or their opinion on that expansion as a whole. So like
Mhm.
my 2 cents is I think the Wrath healers are the best healers ever were. All of them had 3 or 4 buttons to press rather than just pressing chain heal
You
for eternity.
obviously didn't press
And
play a priest.
yeah, but I mean even priests you still had your
They're just
that's where
shield
again
bots.
yeah, but you still had your
Discipline
cooldowns that were
priest specifically.
but yeah, the healers, the output was almost flawless. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
Holy Pallies were the best, but they were actually the best because they had the best cooldowns, and Wrath is where they went super tank buster. But like, if you can dissect away from all that bullshit, the healers all had 3 or 4 buttons each. They all had
Mhm.
fights that they would shine on. Like chain heals still did go burr when melee were getting AoE'd by the boss in an aura or some shit, and then shamans would look super jacked on that fight. And
Yeah.
then Lich King fight, Disc Priests were phenomenal because of the preventive damage from bubbles. Like absolutely
Mhm.
Mhm.
balls to the wall. I think that like if you could just plug and play those 4, but obviously they would need design tinkering away from the whole tank buster concept, which is where
Yeah.
Wrath is like all about raid cooldowns. I hate that shit. But yeah, it's like if you could just pull that out and then like yeah, heap of DPS classes, pretty much just grab them raw from TBC, and then they just need a little bit of a talent squish. Fit that 70 talent tree into a 60 tree, which in my mind shouldn't be that hard because you could probably just get rid of some talents that are like 5 points and each point is 1% parry. Like,
Yes.
put a talent next to that that's a 3 of 3, and the parry talent's just a 1 tick. Ticket, 5% parry for 1 point, cool. And it's just off to the left of the tree or whatever. Like, I reckon that could be a feasible squish and would be pretty fun to play.
What about?
So,
Oh, you were done.
there you go.
I was just gonna
No, you
say, does dual spec positively impact how you play the game? I know you had opinions on this going into.
I'm gonna stay safe on this one. Stay safe and I are pretty much 100% aligned. If you guys don't know who Stay Safe is, but we agree pretty much on everything. I'm of the I know I'm in the minority here, so I already know this is going to be in the game. There's going to be dual spec in the game 100%. I don't like it. I think you just makes respecking costs lower.
You don't like it because of PvE though.
What do you mean? I don't like it class fantasy reasons. It doesn't make
Okay.
sense. It doesn't make sense. You can stand there and do something with your hand, and now you're a different spec. I don't understand how that works. Like that's a very weird thing to me.
That is true. I just don't like the fact that I'm not going to PvP in the open world in a PvE spec. Some people do it, and then they bitch about being one shot. And I'm like, oof.
Well, you know how you fix that, Bob? You just make respec 5 gold.
Yeah, I was
or 10 gold.
say, I'm like pretty impartial to the dual spec thing. Like I was pretty happy in
SOD
in phase 1.
Yeah,
it was just 1 gold to respec, and you just went and respec whenever you wanted to. And then, I mean, I'd go a bit further and say we just need the talent system where you lock it in after you're happy with it. Super minor.
And they'd be able to save like 3 or 4 of them.
That should be in the game.
Let alone going full retail where you just have loadouts. Like you just drop your menu and go, oh, I want my arena spec, and it just changes the whole board for you to what you have
And we
saved.
shouldn't need to have an add-on that lets us confirm our spec. Like that should just be in the game. Like if I accidentally click a button, I shouldn't have to go back and respec again.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the it's an easy, like it's a tap in. If you find that there's particular things in game that 99.9% of the population need an add-on to circumvent or make more convenient, that's just a massive red flag of like, hey, maybe you should fix this fucking part of your game. Like it's bad. Like the fact that we all use bulletin board is, maybe we need an interface for forming groups. Like it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I think the pre-saving loadouts is completely fine. And I'm not going to bitch and complain of dual specs in the game. I'm going to play the game. I'm just saying it just feels weird to me that you can just do that and not go back to your class trainer, be around other people of your same class, be around the masters of your class to do that. Like, what do they call that? Like you're doing like a ritual. You have to do a ritual, right? To learn new talents or something like that. I know it's super weird and cringe and like geeky, but that's how I feel about that kind of stuff. It should be very RP, oriented.
I guess
That's where we're just so good at ruining it for ourselves. We'll go, all right, dual spec, but you can only change in the city. All right, mage, port him out so that he can respec for this boss, and then we'll summon him back in. Oh, but we have to be outside the summon. All right, send guys, and you just go, for fuck's sake, we're ruining it for ourselves. Just let them change in raids. Like there's just which way do you end up leaning? Because we'll just we're the worst playbase in the world.
Yeah, we are. I know that things I like make life harder for people, but I think that's why the devs made it that way. There's a reason,
Friction, I mean, we've talked.
We love the friction, and then we're like, how do we make it the least friction possible at the same time? Like, it's
exactly.
very funny to witness.
What was funny going through?
That's what you're doing. You're finding ways to make the friction less frictiony.
Yeah. But what's so funny though is going through Classic again, right? Like going through Classic 2019 or whatever. You really realized why they made a lot of the changes they made going on, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, a year and a half ago, I didn't think that'd be a good change. Now I am ready for that change, right? And you find yourself falling into those traps again, and then it just, it becomes too much, and you're like, okay, never mind. But at what point was it too much? And I think it's funny going through it and being like, oh, yeah, I do want that.
Yep. Well, there are other questions I would love to ask, but maybe Melderon can actually maybe take this survey in one of his videos, and you guys can check that out. But for now,
I can, if you want to use it at all, I'll reopen answers because you might actually catch a lot more of the vanilla crowd than what I've been able to. Because I've locked answers off at the moment, but I can just tick a box and it lets it resume.
Yeah, if you could just send me the link again and then let me know when you're going to do that, and I'll let you know when I'm going to record the video, and then we can, so you don't have to leave it open. But,
perfect. All right, well,
all right.
Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, it's wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our Discord, any of our links, want to know anywhere to find us, go to warcraftreloaded.com. That's going to end it for here. Ubi, where can we find you?
In the Discords and on here. No, just on retail, you can find me anywhere because we're all on the same server, technically, kind of, and the same faction. But just find me in the Countdown Discord or the Warcraft Reloaded Discord if you need to send me or anything or talk to me.
Good deal. Mel, where can we find you?
On the podcast, occasionally.
And Melderon, where can we find you?
I'm still making videos sometimes. I've been uploaded a couple weeks because I've been busy, but Def Camp Melderon TV on YouTube.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find this show live and be streaming on Blazin' Bob on YouTube. No underscore. That's going to be it. We're out of here, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
See ya.
Peace.
Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.